get to it. Call this meeting to order, and we will start with the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. President, we just stay standing for a few seconds for the disaster that just took place in Florida today. Thank you.
Always horrible to see that sort of news. And far too frequent to see that sort of news.
And I'm down to
All right. Before we go to the roll call, we have to fill our roll. So we'll now swear in our newly selected council member, Mr. Robert Malik.
Oh, I'll meet you right in front there.
Keep it going.
Newly again. Newly again.
Well, that's fine. You ready? All right,
Show
please
me
raise
good
your right
side,
hand.
Bob.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties
and that I will faithfully perform the duties
of the office of councilperson
of the office of councilperson
in and for the village of Wolverine Lake,
in and for the village of Wolverine Lake,
County of Oakland,
County of Oakland,
State of Michigan,
State of Michigan,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Gotta sign your life away,
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
I see the traffic from Romulus was not too bad.
It was an interesting flight in, that's for sure. I just arrived at 10 to 5.
With that, we will proceed to roll call.
Scott.
Yes.
Metro.
Here.
Sinkwitz.
Here.
McGee.
Here.
Dumont.
Here.
Duff.
Here.
Allen.
Yes. Here.
A little rusty. Huh? I don't know what Mr. Scott's excuse is for the.
Well, here.
All right, correspondence, we have none addressed to council. Additions to business. Seeing none, we will proceed to the first call to the public. Before I open the first call to the public, just a reminder to folks that we are having a public hearing on the sewer SAD. So if you want to talk about that, the public hearing would be the appropriate time to talk about that. So with that, I will open us up to the first call to the public. Yes, sir.
Dale Green,
Oh, let's get you-
It was brought to my attention that, like in Commerce Lake, when they did the sewers, some of the sewers over there, the guys that had the pumps out there, they were going bad and they were having to pay for them. And I understood that county would take care of the pumps if they went bad.
Yeah, the county takes care of the.
Okay, because that must be a different deal over there at Commerce then.
It may be some area with a different setup or a different something, but the way we do it under our ordinance and all of ours is, once it's done and inspected, the county takes over responsibility. So essentially from the pump back onto the sewer becomes their responsibility.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anybody else for first call to the public? Seeing none, I will close the first call, and we will move on to approval of consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Motion Duff, second Dumont. Further discussion? Roll call vote?
Metro.
Yes.
Sinkwitz.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
Dumont.
Yes.
Duff.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Motion carries. Brings us down to item 11, public hearings. This is the second public hearing for the Sanitary Sewer Special Assessment District number 4. After the second public hearing, we can go ahead and approve the roll. Before we open the public hearing, Nathan, do we have anything we want to let folks know about?
No, just if you're here and you want to remove yourself, this is the last opportunity to do so. So we have had some people since the last meeting that have taken themselves off the list, but tonight, item 12A will be the final opportunity to do so.
Before you open, are the people that decided to get off, are they off this list? Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
that is as of right now.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Conduct, anything to add?
No, our numbers are down. I think it's 35, so I'll have to refigure. Unfortunately, some of the fixed costs we have, the bond attorney, the financial consultant, it doesn't matter how many people, their charge is what it is. So we'll have a better number tomorrow if anyone's curious, but it will change.
So we expect that to be a slight increase, but not a
Yes.
significant increase, right?
Right.
Okay, with those couple points of information, and Michelle, anything else to add? All right, do I hear a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second. Motion Duff, second Malik. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, the public hearing is now open. If you would like to address the SAD for the sewer, name and address, and come on up to the mic, or we'll get you a mic back there.
I have a question.
Sure, let's,
1402 Lakeview?
Oh.
Yeah, 'cause
yeah, that lets folks at home here.
When we're ready to begin hooking up to the sewer, what is our very first step to take?
Very first step to take is to contact the village. The village will contact our engineering firm, and they'll get in touch with you and start setting it up. And Michelle, you want to explain that process a little bit more?
Absolutely. In fact, if they are on the SAD list, the village usually gets us a list, and you can call us directly, and then we will initiate the start with the village because you are part of that list. You'll have already the funds in place so that we can start moving forward immediately.
And I didn't catch your name. Cimaroli? Okay, thanks. Anybody else? Public hearing, oh, that's,
Neil, you're in 1758 McCoy.
yep.
What was the total number do we need for optimum? You said our numbers are down right now for the people hooking up to the sewers.
So we are
Yeah.
36.
Yeah, we weren't going to initiate this until at least 25 people had signed up.
Oh, we got more than
So
that.
we're well above that.
Okay, good.
still.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing none, do I hear a motion to close the public hearing on the sewer SAD?
Second.
Motion Malik, second Duff. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. That does bring us to item 12A, resolution confirming special assessment role, 2018 Lakes Area, number 4, sanitary sewer, individual hookup project special assessment district. We do have that resolution before us. Do I hear a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
So motion Dumont, second Sinkowitz. Further discussion of that motion? Thank you all for signing up, and we'll get you hooked up as quickly as we can. Roll, seeing no further discussion, roll call vote.
Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
Dumont?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Malik?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Ezra?
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Brings us to item B, bond authorizing resolution, Special Assessment District Bond Series 2018. Do I hear a motion to adopt the resolution before us?
So moved.
Motion Duff, second Dumont. Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
McGee?
Yes.
Dumont?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Malik?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Ezra?
Yes.
Sinkowitz?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion is carried. That means that we have adopted it. The SAD is in place. We'll go out, we'll sell the bonds, the funding is in place, and really, we're gonna proceed from here. So get in touch with the village, get in touch with the engineer, and we'll get folks hooked up as quickly as we can. We've mentioned it before in a couple of the other hearings, but obviously, emergency situations are gonna be the ones that we try to deal with first, and then we'll work through them as quickly as we can. But usually, it's a pretty quick process. So, I think that's all we've got on sewer SAD. Thanks. Item C, Citizens of the Year, JR and Linda Blankenship. So, this is our first co-Citizens of the Year, and I thought it was an excellent suggestion that we had. And I had a couple, couple people ask, so why the blanket ships? You know, JR's not on council, he's not on a board, Linda's not on council, she's not on a board. What do they do around town that makes them, you know, good people for Citizen of the Year? So I wanted to read a little bit from the nominating letter we got from Donna Bethel about some of the things they do that many of you are aware of, but many of you might not be. She says, I would like to nominate a longtime resident of Wolverine Lake who has added tremendous life and enthusiasm to our village while quietly flying under the radar. He has never served on a committee or board. He has never served on council, but is our unofficial mayor of Wolverine Lake, or as affectionately called, the village idiot. I like to think I have both titles, but he has more publicity. I'm talking about John J.R. Blankenship, and Linda nominated J.R., but many others suggested that if J.R. was the nominee, Linda should be equally so because she has fully participated and led in many of these same activities. So J.R. tireless works on fireworks fundraising, including the John Coxeter Open Golf Scramble, barge building, barge rebuilding, barge wedding rentals, raft-off parties, barge teardown, barge adoption, and let us not forget the River Princess and all the fabulous lunches, dinners, and parties held there. A little bit more dive-in movies. Some of you may recall we had, at one point did the dive-in movies through the village. It turned out that there are rights implications if you as a public community show a movie. You have to pay a really, really, really large amount of money. But private citizens can show whatever they want whenever they want. And so JR picked up the dive-in movies. Also, all the emails JR sends throughout the year with the calendar of events that not only included smaller or underground events, but also park and rec events and anything else of interest that involves the community. He is a point of contact. It was a cold, rainy day, and as I sat huddled on a sofa watching a movie, I saw JR fly by on the lake in a bright yellow rain gear on his bright yellow pontoon. It seems the barge had come unmoored, the police were notified, and they notified JR. Who else are you going to call? So those are a few of the things. Anybody who enjoys the fireworks, you have thank yous to JR and Linda both for all that they've done over the years to get that up and running, to get that going. There's a lot that goes into the funding of that. There's a ton that goes into the barge building project that puts that barge out there and then keeps that barge maintained, distributes it around for a little usage also. Both JR and Linda adopted one of our local businesses, and they are now the owners of the Glengarry Inn, as many of you know. Really, these are two people who have done just great work year in, year out to make Wolverine Lake a better place to live, a more fun place to live. And I'm really honored to honor them as our co-Citizens of the Year. Come on up and
Thank you very much.
I give you a plaque and we shake your hand.
All right. Thanks. I don't want to be blushing, but I'm trying to hold that up.
Just the news.
Just the news.
Over here.
This is so embarrassing.
Say cheese.
Grill.
No, I don't.
Don't make the photographer laugh.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, John. Well, Jer might have a speech. It's just a pleasure.
Thanks, guys. I don't want to shake it too hard.
That's all right.
We live in the greatest community.
Under second review.
Volunteer, everybody, volunteer. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Rest of my career.
Thank you.
Well, he's not here yet.
Well, he's
And although I read from Linda's, there were quite a few other nominations suggesting them, so it was well earned. All right, enough of the Citizens of the Year. How quickly they forget. Request to hire a full-time police officer. So next on our agenda is a request to hire Ryan Coyle for the position of full-time police officer for the village of Wolverine Lake. Nathan and/or Chief Ellsworth.
Well, obviously, I came to the administrative committee and we talked about it, and we felt now was the time to move a part-time person, part-time position into a full-time position. We went out and searched, found not only a qualified candidate, we're very excited to have, it's Ryan Crowell, is who we've selected, and he's passed a rigorous background investigation, the psychological, the physicals, all the things that needed to be done, and we're here to present him tonight for the full-time position for the opening.
I would like to make a motion that, based on the recommendation of our police chief, that Ryan Crowell be hired as a full-time police officer in the village of Wolverine Lake.
Second?
So motion Sikowitz, second Duff. Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, well,
All right.
congratulations. Come on
I'm
up
going to
here.
have you
Get
come on
sworn
up.
Absolutely. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will faithfully perform
and I will faithfully perform
the duties of the office of full-time police officer
the duties of the office of the full-time police officer
in and for the village of Wolverine Lake,
in and for the village of Wolverine Lake,
County of Oakland,
County of Oakland,
State of Michigan,
State of Michigan,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You can do that one. Don't worry about it.
Congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Yeah, believe it or not, he did.
Thank you very much.
And he still wants to be.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
I'm going to have you, I was going to say, I'm going to have him introduce his wife and father.
Hi, everybody. I'm looking forward to policing this community for the rest of my career. I got another 20 in me and possibly more. I'd like to introduce my wife. She is, she's the only reason why I'm here, basically. She pushes me to move forward. She's Nicole. She's actually an officer over at Farmington Hills. She's been an officer for many years, many more than myself. And she's my rock. So, and my father, Kevin, over there. Yeah, yeah. And as I said, I really look forward to being here for the rest of my career and policing this community, and hopefully meet everybody singly and get out a personal relationship with everybody. And thank you very much again.
You sign right above your name, and I sign right below.
Side of your head. Yeah. Back up into the center.
Pleasure, pleasure.
All right. Next item, item 12E, request to hire a full-time DPW employee, Hunter Smith, as a full-time employee. Mr. Bird?
Well, we are really happy to make this recommendation tonight. Hunter has been a seasonal with us since early part of last summer, and just an abnormal work ethic, I think. He's been a wonderful addition. You know, a lot of our staff is here tonight, which says a lot about how they feel about him, and We hope that he also has a very long career ahead of him here in the department. He's going to be spending quite a bit of time with Andy, learning some of the things that right now are exclusively Andy's, and learning how to do some of those tasks. And he's going to be very, very helpful to the village, and we enthusiastically request that council offer him full-time employment tonight.
I'd like to make a motion that we hire Hunter Smith as a full-time DPW worker.
Second.
Motion Duff, second Sinkowitz. Further discussion? Yeah, I just want to say congratulations to Hunter, and well-earned, in particular as a seasonal employee. I think he did a really good job of showing the extra productivity we could get from somebody in that fourth DPW position. So aside from coming to the top of a pretty good pool of applicants, as I heard it, going through that process, really just demonstrating the usefulness of having somebody in that slot. So congratulations.
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
John? Yeah, I'd like to comment here. Hunter, I'd like to congratulate you on the letter you presented to the village in applying for this position. It's very informative, the layout is great, and it's a compliment to you, so I'd just like to say thank you.
Thank you so much, really appreciate it.
All right. So we have a motion. Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Motion carries. Come on up. Swear you in.
Oh, that's correct.
All right, honey, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties
and that I will faithfully perform the duties
of the office of the Department of Public Works
of the office of the Department of Public Works
in and for the village of Wolverine Lake,
in and for the village of Wolverine Lake,
County of Oakland,
County of Oakland,
and State of Michigan,
and state of Michigan,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Nathan.
Valentine's Day, you good job.
I think she's join us newbies.
Played hockey.
Just think about it, Bob.
Son.
20 minutes ago, you were the new addition. Now
I know.
there's two people junior to you.
That's what I said to Hunter, I said, you just joined us newbies.
I wanted to introduce Amanda. She is my girlfriend. She was very excited to come here on Valentine's Day. So I just wanted to mention that, and she supports me through whatever I do, and I really appreciate that more than anything. So I just wanted to introduce her.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, really.
Well, it is hard to beat the romance of the council meeting on
Oh, I'll
Valentine's.
tell you. Wow. Where are the flowers?
Just so everybody knows, I did wear my little heart tie. All right, boy, there's been a lot of swearing at this meeting so far.
We're just getting started.
All right, item 12F, resolution proposing charter amendments 1 through 9 for the November 2018 ballot. So, as I understand it, we've gone through the pre-review process. We had a couple of small changes, and I'm going to ask our attorney to explain.
Right, so the resolution, I think Nathan put a final draft in front of you tonight, separate from the packet, because we just kind of got some second round of feedback from the Attorney General's office. And all of the feedback, so the process that we're going through here is really, you put the resolution and the ballot proposals in front of you, and you approve them, and then from here it goes on to the governor's office, which is really the Attorney General's office. They're the ones reviewing the final language, but they offered, through our talking to them and our relationship with them, to kind of give us a preliminary review of it, so that when you get to the point of adopting this and we send it out to the governor's office, it'll just go through. So they mostly had some stylistic changes, words they wanted changed here and there. In fact, one of the words they wanted us to change that we had originally written in the second round asked us to please put the words back that we had originally written after we had taken them out once. So it's kind of stuff like that that's been going on. But the biggest change in here really was that they wanted, the Attorney General wanted the effective date for the officers, or the council members, to be November, that effective date to change in November 2022. And that is because we need to get through the cycle of 4 years that all of the council members, you know, what, we have kind of 3 council members up every 2 years. So to get through your whole council, it will be November 2022 when this can become effective.
So that's the change that would move the first meeting of the new council from the November right following the election to the December date, because we've had a couple times where that election date to the second Wednesday in November gets really, really tight, and getting the election validated and confirmed by then is difficult.
Right, because right now it's the first Monday after that election at 7:30, which at one time you had your elections different, and that's where that came from. But and so that also affects the you had a charter amendment that allowed you to set up a compensation commission for our council members. So that will also not, your ordinance, you can start working on that and put your committee together, but you have 4 years. So that ordinance will become effective at that 4-year mark.
Okay.
So tonight, you had 2 resolutions because there was a number 9 ballot proposal. They're all in one document now, so it's just one resolution. All 9 proposals are on it.
So, as I understand it, at this point, we can adopt Resolution 2018 Village of Wolverine Lake Charter Amendments 1 through 9 as presented, and that's what we have to do. It goes up to the Attorney General's office for official confirmation, and then comes back and it's on our ballot, right?
Yeah, and then you have to go to Oakland County, send it to Oakland County. They have to approve the language by a certain date for the
Okay.
ballots, but it's really procedural.
All right. Do I hear that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Duff, second Dumont, to adopt the resolution with charter amendments 1 through 9 as presented. Further discussion?
I just had a question, Jennifer. And by the way, welcome, Bob. In the process that I was watching on television, in terms of interviews that we had for all of those that were volunteering to come forward to fill the seat, I was wondering, I went through the charter, is there a process or a procedure in the charter that specifies once they step forward, how those interview process should go, and/or how the decision should be made by council, either in open public discussion or in private discussion? We've done this in a lot of different ways. I think in the last time we did it, when David came aboard, we actually took the process by ballot off the table in a private meeting, then came forward. And I was a little astounded in a sense,
I
President.
question
Just a minute,
that
I'm
too at the
talking,
meeting,
Mr.
why we did one way.
Hold on,
Okay.
let
Yeah.
Mr. Scott finish.
You know, you have a very powerful seat, and I was a little disappointed, to be direct with you, that you would come into council and use the power of that seat to first make a nomination without talking to the individual council people to allow them to make comments first. So I was a little bit disappointed with that as I stood away. Now, I certainly wasn't here, but at the same point in time, I'm just wondering, we don't need to go through it now, but what you've answered is the question. There's no process in our charter, and I would assume there's no process in any charter that you work with?
Well, some charters may have a process for that. Yours
Okay.
doesn't, so it's just really been administrative. The Open Meetings Act is what controls whether or not that can be
Right.
an open or closed discussion. And it can be a closed discussion, but at the request of the applicant, so that, you know, has been worked with in the past, applicants requesting a closed discussion, you know, with the administration possibly, and then the council having the closed discussion based on those requests. Now, the
Okay.
interviews themselves are required to be an open
In
meeting,
open, I
but there can be a discussion, depending on the request of the applicants, closed. That's how that.
You mean the discussion for the determination of who will be nominated by the council
It's for
themselves?
review of the applications, and that would be a discussion about the applications and their comparison, but you have to have, again,
An
request.
open interview is what you're saying.
An open interview,
Yeah.
yes.
And Mr. Scott, I think I did do a bad job of explaining that to everybody beforehand, the process we were having and how it would be a little different than the last time.
Yeah, I'm not saying that Robert shouldn't be sitting here. After all, you've got a lot of experience, Bob. Going forward, there will be elections in November. I just hope it, and all of the applicants that were sitting here indicated they will be here and on the ballot. So, as they say, let the ballot rule, so, okay. I wouldn't mind putting that in possibly a work session to go into deeper discussion, but
You
maybe
can
we can do
certainly
that.
establish an administrative policy.
Right, I'm just thinking for future council, so it is an ad hoc, if you would. I don't know, but it's an important decision, not only for council, but the community. And we do have a good man, and just a question of going forward. I'm sorry, Edward, you had a point, sort of stepped on your toes.
No, that's, my point was that after everybody did it, I started to slide back, and I said, we're going upstairs, and he said, no, and I said, well, that's what we did last time. And I didn't know why we didn't go upstairs, but.
And
I
again,
noticed your slide
that's
back, by
totally
the
on me.
way.
I did a bad job of explaining that at the top of the meeting. So.
You mean that you would be
That,
making an immediate recommendation, or?
that we
we'd be
weren't
doing-
going to go to a closed session. We've gone to closed sessions before because we've had requests to review in confidence. We didn't have one this time, so we stayed in open session.
Oh, you mean from the actual applicants that asked for that?
Yep.
That's interesting. Okay.
Well, I guess if and when we ask them, do you want to close? Do you want to? And if there's, nobody cares, then we'll do it in open, but,
Mhm.
It's sometimes, though, it's tough when you're looking at your neighbors and your residents, and you have to vote against them, or something like that right away. Well, how come how come me, how come what? But, it is what it is.
It's tough, especially with such a good panel as we had of
Mhm.
applicants, but, the more open we can be with our process, I think the better. And I think if you've looked at the recent process and how it's gone in both Walled Lake and Wixom, I think you'll see that the more open we can be, the better.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Read about it, heard about it.
So, okay.
I just want to say thanks.
A bit to the side, but I'll include the discussion as discussion of our charter and its requirements. Anything else on the motion before us to to adopt the resolution as presented and send these on to the Attorney General?
My only question, is there anything else that's either pending in our charter or something that we want maybe to get residents' input in?
Well,
As an advisory vote?
We've been, there are really tight limits around what we can actually put on for advisory vote. You really can't put things on as an advisory vote, as I understand it.
Right.
But we've been through kind of a 3-year process of, actually maybe more like a 4 or 5-year process of trying to gather up all of the pieces of archaic language in our charter, collect them all together, put them all in place. We got 8 of them, and then we found that one of those 8 actually changed something else that we had to update. Having said that, I can almost guarantee we will, we will find additional things we want to change and update, but I'd just as soon have this batch go through so that we make sure they have plenty of time to get through the process, arrive on the ballot in November, and we can proceed from there. If we have other things that come up, we can always put them through the process.
Right, and just to add on that, there certainly are other things in the charter that could probably be fine-tuned, but you can only do so many amendments before you get into a complete revision of your charter, and it's a much more comprehensive, involved process to do that. I mean, sitting as you're an attorney reading through your charter, sometimes I wish I could change, the way it's written, but it was written whenever, 1950, whatever, I don't know when it was written, but. So you're probably going to come up with things that, wish could be different, but I'd say that what you have here in front of you really takes care of your top 10, top 9 list.
No, what I was getting at is years back when they limited the use of the lake, we had an advisor, do you want lake hours to change from dusk to dark, or do you want to go from for high-speed boating? And you know, and it was an advisory vote, then we took it from there. I was just throwing this up to council. Is there anything else that is in the back of our minds that we would like to maybe get the village residents' input, either, whatever. I don't have anything on the tip of my mind. I mean, we've had input on the park, we had input on this, input on that, but, you know, it'd be, if there was this would be the time to do it at an election, but.
Yeah, and I wasn't here when the lake vote was taken, but it may be that came under the realm of adopting a specific resolution. I know with the DNR resolution, you end up having to, you adopt a local law, but it also goes into to the state book and through the DNR administrative rules, so.
But I can quickly comment on that. If you change any laws on this lake right now, anything at all, you must comply with current state law with all of them. We
Wait a
are
minute.
under a public administration.
That was not my point.
No, what I'm saying is, yeah, I understand what you're saying about.
I like what's out there.
But if you change one thing on this lake, you now have to comply with all of state law, which means the 7:30 to 11 o'clock is out the window.
Mhm.
Anything, buoys, anything. We were told that last time we had a public hearing. We went through all that, and they said, no, you're not gonna do that, so.
Yeah,
I just wanna make sure everybody is aware that.
I know
one
that
thing,
comes
we
up from
changed a
time
lot
to
of
time.
things.
And all I was saying was that I'm not sure how that vote got there, but it may be that it was, you know, more than an advisory vote. Like, you can't take strictly an advisory vote, hey, we want to know what people think about this. You can't use.
Yeah. Well, let me be clear. My point was not to do anything on the lake.
Yeah. You were just asking if there's anything else we
Leave
want to
what's
collect before we
working,
send it
but
on.
I just use that as an example where the residents came out. I didn't know if there was anything, you know, pathways or whatever. But anyway, let's move on.
Well, I do have a question. As a past zoning board member, with the zoning ordinances now, you have a six-point questionnaire on why someone needs to or wants to, or do they meet this criteria or that. Is that something that is statewide? I mean, do we have to stick with that? Or, I mean, I can remember when I was on 20 years ago, okay? If it made reasonable sense, okay? And if people didn't come, have neighbors, you know, complaining or whatever, and it worked into the situation. But now, it's almost impossible, okay, for someone to make a change in a zoning ordinance. I mean, and the whole idea, I believe, is that if it makes sense for the community. Okay, I mean, if you start, and I won't pick on lake people, but if you start on the lake, it was all cottages 40-plus years ago. And everything has changed, there's been zoning changes and variances, and now a guy wants to put up a fence in the middle of one of the blocks, and it's no good because he can't meet these 6 different criterias. I just don't think it's fair to the citizens. Is that something we can address, or does it have to stay this way?
Rezonings and variances, both use variances and dimensional variances, are dictated by state law and the case law that has evolved out of that. But the Zoning Enabling Act went into effect in 2006, and that really codified all of the elements that need to be met in all communities for all of those different land use tools. And so there is no wiggle room with that in any community. That is the conditions that must be met for those types of.
Those have been in place for quite a while, too. I went to, when I got on planning commission back in '98, I went to a zoning and planning training seminar, and that was exactly what they said as far as zoning goes. Because it's a judicial body.
Right, and my understanding too is that however the discussion at ZBA happens, if we make it clear and explicit that we have looked at these conditions and considered them in making the ZBA case, it makes it much easier for our attorneys to defend in court if there's an appeal, so.
Everybody gets the same questionnaire, the
Yeah.
same criteria and there's no gray area.
Right.
That's.
Well, that's, unfortunately, there is a gray area where people wouldn't be coming in and asking for these changes.
I think there is gray area, and there's certainly the ability of the ZBA to make decisions that they feel are in keeping with
Well,
the
yeah,
community.
but again, all the years I spent on it, it's like, oh no, this says that, can't do it, the heck with you. And then I just don't feel it's fair to the average citizen. That was one of the reasons I backed off the zoning board, because I just didn't feel it was fair to the community. And that's a personal thing, that was my feeling, so that's all.
Can I
just
drill
wanted-
down on that a little bit, Jennifer? I understand the codifications. I, too, attended a 8-hour course. That doesn't mean that within the scope of a zoning ordinances, there isn't some latitude for the communities to make some changes.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just that I think it's
Yeah.
like traffic.
It's a
We
form-
all
format.
comply until there is some change, and then we can
Well,
comply.
you know,
But I mean, you
John,
can't do personal decisions
I can
up there.
agree with you there, but I sat on the board and I just resigned here a couple months ago because I was really distraught over someone that wanted a fence, okay? And the layout of their property, and they had put a pool in, and what they wanted, and it was like, they had a door wall, like here's the back of the house. The door wall was up ahead of it. They wanted the stockade fence to go beyond that door wall. But no, doesn't fit the criteria, so they had to put it at the back of the house, where little kids gotta come out the door wall, go through a fence to get in the backyard. It exposed their pump system to the front, okay? I mean, it just didn't make sense not to pass it.
It was a self-created issue.
Well, it was there.
It was a self-created.
But
issue.
again, they approached the board for that variance, self-created or not. I'm looking at a person that lives in this community, that it made sense for what they wanted. I'm not trying to argue with you, but I'm just giving you my point of view.
So at this point, let me
Let's
suggest that.
leave it at that.
ZBA, that continued discussion at ZBA, we can talk about what our zoning rules are and how we have them, and we can have a lot of discussion around that. Probably outside the scope of further discussion on the
Okay.
charter
Well,
amendments
you
that
were
we have.
asking things about
Yep.
stuff, so that's why I asked
Yep.
the question.
No, and the question was whether or not that fits in.
Right.
In the context of what we're doing with the charter. Probably not.
So,
Okay.
one last thing.
Sure.
I think our attorney that sits at the ZBA meetings has to let the board know that there's wiggle room.
Yeah, so the state law, the case law, the statutes establishes a formula for every ZBA to follow. It's up to your community to put in the facts and your criteria, the information in that formula. So you may come up with, it's a case-by-case evaluation. So one time you may come up with a yes, and the next time you may come up with a no with that same exact formula.
Right.
That's the process.
Okay. No,
I think the ZBA, honestly, I haven't been going lately, Leanne's been going, but, I went this last time, and I'm very pleased with the process that they go through.
I think the
Good
process is
evaluation.
great.
Yeah.
Again, I was on it for years,
Yeah.
okay? I mean,
And that's what matters to the court, is are you going through the right process? And I believe that you are, so. Now, there may be a difference of opinion as to what that result is from the process. And that's, for you to determine what direction your community's going in,
Right.
and, that kind of stuff.
Okay. Thank you.
All righty, anything else on the motion for charter amendments? Hearing none, let's get a roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Motion carries. All right, recommendation to purchase illuminated buoys for the lake.
Yeah, this idea actually came from Jerry Mikowski. I think it was late last summer, and the water board looked into it and asked council to look into it, and council asked the chief and Andy and I to look into it, and we've done that. And the product that's in your folder is what we would like to purchase. There aren't a lot of companies that do this, actually, and this particular company had some patents on this product, and we think that it's a good price and a good product. It's a solar-powered buoy that would replace our existing buoys. What we want to do is buy one make sure we're okay with it, and then if we are, we would move forward with the additional purchase of 4 more. I know the math doesn't seem to add up. They're $490 a piece, and I'm asking for 2,200, but when I fake bought them online as if I were about to buy them, there seemed to be a discount for buying that many at a time, and there also was some reduction on shipping charges and fees. So I think 2,200 will get us what we need. But
When you did that, did you fake buy 1 and then 4?
I did, no, I fake bought 5, which is what our total would be. So you're saying maybe it wouldn't be the same?
If you bought 1 and then bought 4.
Okay, that's a good point. Well, maybe up it a little bit, but,
So the bottom line, we're gonna get 1 and try it.
yeah, because we don't want to have 5 and then find out that it doesn't do what we thought it was going
Or
to do.
the
And-
light goes out at 12:30.
And we've never used these before. This is new to us, so we don't want to spend that much money without knowing for certain that we're comfortable with it.
Well, since it's a set price for them, let me suggest that we go ahead, we authorize up to 2,500, expecting that it'll come in a little bit below that. But it occurred to me when you said the shipping, if we do 2 different shipping.
Yeah, that's true.
shippings.
Yeah.
Okay, wait a minute. You're
Yeah.
authorizing to buy 5, but you're only gonna buy 1?
We're going to buy 4 more if we like the 1, and we wouldn't have to then come back and ask for permission again to buy the 4.
Well, we'll have another council meeting, I'm sure.
And we can do that if we want to do that, but.
My motion, we buy 1, see how it works out, and then if we want to buy 3, 4, 5 more, that's fine.
So they don't operate like Kohl's, we can't return them if we don't like them?
No, if there was something wrong with the one we bought, we could return it, but if we just don't like it, we can't return it. And so that's why I don't want to buy 5.
Question of not liking it, it's not as functionally usable as we would
Well-
think as a community, I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, like a lot of the marinas I go to, where we keep our boat in Lake Erie, they have them, but some are really bright, and some are like a, a $2 flashlight. And then they also, depending on how much of it is sticking out of the water, it's like this, or is it nice and up and down? So there's a lot involved in this, and I think it's a great idea. And, but my motion, I'd make a motion that we purchase 1, get it in the lake, see how it works out, and then decide how many more we want and buy what we need.
I'll second that.
So I have a motion to purchase 1 buoy, test it out, and then come back to council for the additional 4 if we like the buoys. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with doing it as 1 and leaving it to the administrator's discretion, so, council's pleasure.
My only question is, what time period are you looking at for?
As soon as we can.
No, once we get it. In other words, 30 days in the water, 60 days, 90 days. In other words, what's life going to be like, and how's it going to affect the lake? In 30 days, it might work fine, but in 75 days.
I believe our chief has a comment.
Yeah, I've done extensive research on this, and went back and forth, and I saw many of these. Just to let you know, these are adjustable. You can have 5 different levels of lights.
Okay.
You can have different colors of lights if you'd like. So there's a lot of things that are involved that I won't get into about how they can be adjusted for obvious reasons. However, if they're in a particular area we feel needs more, notice, for example, we can have that be brighter. Tiki night, when there's so many boats out there, chances are I'm going to turn those babies up. And they say they last 48 hours just burning without being recharged. Obviously, we're not gonna have to worry about that nearly as much. But on the lower settings, they'll last 7 days with 1 charge, but it's constantly being charged. My thing is, the whole thing glows. It's not a light that sits on top, which some of them are. The whole thing glows, and I don't know if, would we have another picture of
I
that?
don't have a nighttime picture,
Okay.
but
It
that's the
really,
difference with this company.
it really shows up well, and it's almost an off-white glow, but it can be bright, it can be dim, it can be blue, it can be red. So there are a lot of different options. I think our thing is we weren't gonna wait till summertime to start testing it. Once we got it ordered and got it here, we're gonna set it out, let it charge. We can put it in the garage, and we can see what the types of, and see how long it lasts. And that way we'll know. And as far as whether it sits up or lays down, there's the same with everything. They come with the bars, they come with the posts, they come with 2 different chains, and half a cinder block on one, and a full cinder block on the other, and it's just like anything else. So, we'll do exactly what you guys want to do, obviously, that's what we do. But we weren't going to wait until spring or wait until summertime comes when they're needed, and then go buy 4 more and not realize we're not going to be able to get them until September when we're basically pulling them out anyway, so.
Well, is there any?
So, let me go, stick with
Go ahead.
Scott.
Okay, maybe you were gonna ask this. Is there any indication that if we ordered them, we'd have to wait? I'm figuring when the ice is out, stick it out there and see what happens. And if after 30 days it's functioning and it's what we like, or maybe after 2 weeks, we look at it, because I think, you know, I don't know, I mean, I just, if we're thinking about, let's buy one and see what it's like, well, why pay for 6 and then have to deal with others this way?
To clarify, I'm not asking to pay for 6.
No, I understand that.
We're not going to buy the additional 4 if we don't like the product.
Yes,
I was asking for your okay tonight to let us test one, and we would use our discretion whether or not we wanted to move forward with the additional purchase and make the budget amendment now. We don't have to do it that way, but
Okay.
the whole point of this is not to waste money on it. We're not trying to buy them without knowing what we're buying, but we want to have a sample first, so,
You're just trying to simplify the process.
yes.
Yeah,
That's what it boils
but I
down
think
to.
that once,
That makes sense
once
to
we
me.
get it and we put it into water and get a chance to see it, that it won't, we just order the rest of them, get them in there. I mean,
Right. But now we'll
That's
do
what
it
they're
after
talking
another
about
council
doing.
meeting. That's all
He just
we're
wanted to
talking about.
authorize enough to pay for 5 if we decide to go with the other 4.
Yeah, and I think what we would be doing is then leaving it to the chief and the administrator's discretion as to whether or not they're satisfied with the product. If they're satisfied, I'm gonna go on their recommendation. If they're not satisfied, they're not gonna recommend.
What it sounds like, it's gonna be a pretty nice piece of equipment anyways.
Like I said, through all of them, I was really surprised. These are a little more expensive, obviously, but they're all under $500 a piece. And for the amount of years that we're supposed to be able to get out of these, I thought, what a nice thing to have for the village, and what a nice thing to have for our lake. The only thing is we hadn't seen them around. They're not around here. So I wanted to get one and test it and see if it lives up to the hype that our advertising and what they say it is. That was really what we were talking about, is, okay, these are the ones we'd like to get. We want to pick out one and
If
test
it
it
works,
out.
good for them.
Let me say something quickly, and then I'll go back to our original suggester there and call on her. I just want to say that as somebody who cruises a lot at sunset or in the twilight, or sometimes at night and into night, the buoys we have right now are practically invisible unless you have your lights on. The reflectivity is fairly low.
so
I don't want to claim
we don't need
I've
boats with headlights.
in public that I've ever accidentally hit one, but they are not easy to see, and I've heard them thump a few times when it certainly wasn't my boat.
Yeah.
So I think we would do well to get them out, to have them out as soon as possible. Having said that, I still agree with the notion that we should test one, take a look at it, make sure we're happy with it. We go to Jerry Mikowski, our
Yeah.
citizen. who
Well, since
suggested-
I recommended it, I want to tell you, I've been on a lake with them. It is a beautiful addition to the lake, and it's nothing that's going to get in anybody's way. And now it's stating slow, no wake, which is something our buoys now are not showing very well. And believe me, when they're on the lake, they're beautiful. And at night, it was just lovely to see them.
So there's a first-person testament from somebody who saw them, and she brought the idea after having seen them. Okay, so the motion we still have before us is to buy one, then come back to council if we want to buy additional ones. Mr. Scott?
I really had another question, Chief. I think part of the driver on this was the condition of our current buoys.
Well-
I think what I heard Jerry say is absolutely true.
Yeah,
And I will admit to running over one going to the bridge, you just can't see it.
And that is the case, and the thing of it is if we're gonna replace them, I'd rather replace them with something that not only looks nice, but is practical, and I think it's just gonna be a great addition to the lake. If it works like they say they're going to work, I'm excited about it. I think it's going to hopefully make a difference, too.
So we're not at end of life on any of our buoys. I mean, they're still floating, but some of them.
They're still
They're not very functional, without lights on them and.
Understand what we do with our buoys is the buoys themselves are still buoyant. That's what they're there for, but we have to replace the wraps pretty much every year. Because they get bumped and banged up, and been in the water for a year, you know, and so we power wash them and put them away, but when we get them back out, they're dried and cracked, and they're not, you know, being in the water 6 months out of the year, and then sitting in the warehouse for 6 months, it takes its toll on them. So we were trying to come up with something that, these are not wraps, they're actually molded in, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how the first one looks, to see if I should really be excited about them or not, because I think they're going to be great. The pictures that I saw, they really do look.
But right now, we're not talking about whether they're functional, whether we need them, or whether they'd be great to have. We're just talking about whether we pay for, budget for 5 and purchase 1, see how it works, and then 4, or budget for 1, come back in the future and budget for the 4 remaining.
That is the essence of the debate we are having at the moment. I believe everybody is on board with the notion of, if these look good, let's buy them all. So, we have a motion on the floor from Sikowitz and Duff. Would you gentlemen be open to a friendly amendment to authorize up to 5 and have the administrator and chief purchase 1 and test it?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Friendly amendment, I should.
Before we go to a friendly amendment, before we go to a motion to amend, we had a friendly amendment. By consensus, we will authorize the purchase of up to 5. We'll buy 1, we'll test it. I think probably up to 2,500 is prudent, since there may be additional shipping costs for splitting it. Mr. Condek, did we have a budget area for this?
Going to put it under lake improvement in its own line item, because I couldn't fit it under anything else, but you're quite right, we did not budget for it originally when we adopted it, so this will mean another budget amendment, and I'll come up with an account.
Okay, so that motion to include the budget amendment for the purchase. So before us, we now have motion to purchase 1 buoy, test it out, and authorize the purchase of up to 5 buoys at a cost not to exceed $2,500, and to have the treasurer make the appropriate budget amendment. Further discussion? All right, we got there. Roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, holy moly.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
That was good debate. That's how you make those decisions. Okay, recommendation from Park Capital Subcommittee. Recommendation, council establish a not to exceed budget of $25,000 for the Oak Island Park. Mr. Scott.
Well, what you have in front of you under tab H is on the back of the, or the second side of the sheet, is really the result of, I believe there were 3 open meetings. The first one with the Oak Island Association. I think the attendance was all but 2 people on Oak Island, 2 households on Oak Island, talking about the condition of the park, the use of the park, the importance of maybe 1 or 2 days out of the year, that there would be an allowance to have some overflow parking in the grass area that might not injure the park if properly managed, and where we should, if possible, put some designated parking for the island park. After all, it is a park. That was followed up with another open discussion meeting as these ideas began to formulate, and I think Mike presented the first draft, so we could discuss that. And then finally, there was a ballot sent out with a number of different options. And what you have before you is literally a lot of work by our board, the Oak Island Association, in line with the way this community wanted this approached. Get the neighbors involved, have them vent the issues. And of course, there's always been a little bit of a touchy issue on that overparking, but the solution in front of you is really to move to 5 parking spots, 2 within the corpus of the park itself, and keep whatever parking is going on in the park as small as possible, but still maintain a good turnaround for those individuals who come up with their landscaping trucks, and right now, they just park everywhere. So from a maintenance standpoint and from a look standpoint, it is sort of looks like an empty vacant lot that isn't being taken care of at the time, and that's not a criticism of our DPW. And then finally, within the boundaries of the park, there's another area, a space where 3 additional slots could be put, which will not interfere with the greening and hopefully redesigning and flora enhancements of the park, of which we think some of the, we're already hearing that there are people on the park, residents, who are more than willing to go out and participate in planting days and et cetera. So with all of that said, the last meeting included members of the Park and Recs Commission, headed by, well, Mr. Dumont is our liaison over, and Ms. Silko is the chair currently, correct? So she attended the meeting, and the rest of the capital group was there, and we discussed what it would cost, what it might not cost. We still are subject to going out for bids. And I think, Nathan, you came forward with some estimated cost. We think probably about half of this 25,000 might just be dedicated for pavement and et cetera. The other half would be dedicated for other enhancements like dog doo-doo bags and things that we have on our list for all of the parks.
Question. Is 2 parking spaces over there with the 2 in a circle around them, is that in front of Mersch's?
No, it's the 3 here that are in front of Mersch's.
Okay, all right, I had it around backwards, okay.
Yeah, the 2 there are on basically the, I
So
guess, the
will
northeast.
those 3 just be left like they are, or are they planning to asphalt them or gravel them, or just?
We're planning to put asphalt in there, and, you know, what you don't see is, part of this budget is to go out and get a landscaping company to give us some ideas how to make those particular 3 spots semi-disappear, you know, if you would.
And there's no equipment of any kind in here, is there?
In
the park.
We talked
not
about
at this point in time, but there's
possibly a
list.
swing set, but no like large play structures or
Yeah.
anything like that. It's basically going to be a couple benches, maybe a grill or 2, a swing set, and really the unknown of it is the landscaping. There's been a lot of talk about putting some sort of a perimeter around, which we'll do, but the grass itself, the turf itself, is really what we don't know about. It's so shaded there that we really need a landscaper to come in and tell us, is this something that can be replanted, resodded, and we don't know yet. But the items that would be going in the park are very inexpensive. They're not a lot of money. It's the landscaping and the paving that would create this more sizable part of the
And there'll still be parking off the road? You'll be able to pull off to the side of the road, like between Mersch's and all that, you know, the Oak Island Drive, the road. Are these bushes going to keep you from?
You mean
parallel
pulling
park-
onto the park and parking on the park?
Yeah,
We're
you know,
trying
like now.
to discourage that as much as
Pardon me?
possible. We're trying to discourage entry into the green area.
No, I don't mean an entry, it's just like, most of us around here, parking is limited, so if you
Mhm.
have guests, they park on the lawn, half on the street, or whatever. Will there still be that for if somebody's having a party or graduation, or it's tiki night, that you can?
So you're
I
talking
guess
about,
parallel park.
reasonable room on the shoulder to
Yeah.
park?
So the bushes that we're gonna plant there aren't gonna be right up against the shoulder?
Yeah, no, and again, this is a schematic, has had no input from any landscaper, so we're sort of up in the air. Maybe there's a question of doing asphalt with 6 or 12-inch strip of gravel. I don't know what that's gonna end up looking like.
Yeah,
I think we need to
that's-
get the next rendition back
That's what I
from
was.
Mr. Powell.
When I'm looking at this, there's not a lot of dimensions, but I guess what I'm getting at is when you pull around and you're going around the road,
Mhm.
not necessarily pulling right into the park and taking up the park, because that's what the park's there for people to use, not cars. But you can parallel park along the road on both
Yeah,
sides.
you mean on certain events? Yeah, you
Yeah.
mean something that would take the 3 and the 2, the 5 lots and all, I mean, parking slots, and we would need an additional 10 or something? Is
Yeah,
that what
well,
you're
yeah,
saying?
just so that whatever we plant there is like, 4 or 5 feet off, because bushes grow and everything.
Mhm.
And I think it's a good idea, instead of having a park planner go out there and do all this kind of stuff and pick out the plants, and then you get a landscaper comes in, so I don't know if that's a good idea. I think we go out to landscapers for bids, get their opinion, and make sure that whatever you plant, it grows.
That sounds like the process that's
It's a
proposed.
process that we're involved in.
That's the way it should have been done on the other park.
So I had a couple quick questions, one of which is, so this is really, we're proposing to put it into our budget for fiscal year 19, right? The 25,000.
After June, I think we're talking.
Well, the paving would not take place until after Tiki Night, because
Yeah,
we're going to
after
do a
Tiki Night.
paving project on Oak Island, and we want to correspond that to this project.
Right.
If council wanted us to purchase some of the other items before, then we would need to amend this year's budget. If council wants to wait until after the new fiscal year, then, certainly that's a decision.
Okay, so there may be a landscaping reason that, put something in the spring. So that may be some amount of the author, let me try this again with a sentence.
Go for it.
I just want to find out whether or not we want to tonight, authorize $25,000 or budget $25,000 in next year's budget, authorize up to $25,000 with budget amendments to come for this year as needed, or what the balance is, so that we can make sure if there are particular things we want to do, we can get them done this year. And if we know the other things are going out, they're going to be part of the late summer paving project over there, we don't have to worry about it, we just put it in our budget and then move on.
So for an example, what I'm hearing, the back edge, there's always been controversy or questions whether we put a cedar fence along the back edge just to put a final demarcation between the park and the 2 or 3 houses. Items that could be done without interfering with the decision of putting asphalt in or et cetera, that might be 10,000 or 4 or 2 or 1,000. I think what I'm hearing you say, maybe we should allocate out of the 25,000 a certain amount that could be handled between now and the end of this year. Is that the plan?
I don't think we have a concrete enough plan to allocate it this time.
Okay.
I just wanted to know if what we're doing is really saying, okay, let's plan, let's budget 25,000, we know it's going to be spent. We can plan and we can put 25,000 in next year's budget, and then if we go through a public hearing, and we go through a process, and we come back with a concrete plan of what we want to do, and that plan includes, for example, plantings we want to do in late May, because they'll take better then than if we wait until July, then we'll just need to come back and do a budget amendment. We can always do that, and we can shift some of the money from next year's budget into this year. But I just want to be clear on, do we know what we want to do of those options?
Well, I think getting a landscaper out is one, getting a final print from Paul would be number 2 before we make any decision. But there is budgeted funds there, is there not, Mike? I mean, in this current fiscal year, each park had a rolling.
There are, John. We had budgeted $20,000
Yeah.
originally, and to date, we've spent almost $5,000, and all of that was on immediate. And I'm not sure what else we'd need to spend by the end of the fiscal year there, so
Yeah.
there's some.
There's some latitude.
Okay, well, that means that
Yeah.
we have existing
Yeah.
budget to deal with what we need to. In that case, I think we could probably just do it as authorizing up to $25,000 for improvements.
The
in
improvement of Oak
park.
Island Park.
I have a
Sorry,
question.
Oak Island Park, yes.
I have a question. Like in the interview, I believe in these pocket parks. I think it's a great idea. But when I look at this, and, I've been on Oak Island in 40 years, 3 times, I think, so I'm not totally familiar. But if you've got this designated area and you plant shrubs and all, how's that going to affect our DPW with weather like this? Do they now plow and put it into that area? I mean, I don't know, okay, and that's why I'm asking the question, because if we're gonna spend money on shrubs and they gotta put snow someplace, I'd sure hate to see them push it over.
We talked with DPW about this draft, this
Mm-hmm.
specific draft. We will talk with them again before we start making final plans, but there's leaves that sometimes get raked into this area, leaves that need to be picked up. And so there would be room for things to occur as they have. We're not putting a straight wall across.
No, I
There
understand,
will be
but
openings.
again, we've got a lot of snow this year, okay? And if that happens, I mean, what are they gonna do? Push it over to the end of the bridge so it goes down into the lake? I don't know, okay? I don't know what they do with it. The streets there, and John, you live there, are very limited now as to, the room to get by and different things. I'm just asking the question so we don't create a headache for them
In the worst of
For the
snows
future.
in all the years I've lived there, Bob,
Mhm.
I have seen them put some snow in the area where it talks about the 20-foot vehicle, 25-foot vehicle
Mhm.
turnaround area. And I've never seen it probably more than 2.5 feet high, and it's not huge mounds.
Well, again, I
Yeah.
don't know, because like I said, I don't live there, but I know that a couple times how confined it is to getting around.
Yeah.
And again, I look at this, if you end up with your parking areas, that's two areas that they could push snow where it wouldn't affect, you know. But again, I'm looking at the aesthetics that they stay in place if we go with it.
Actually, that might get me to my other sort of question or point that I had, which is, I know we've had a commitment to hold a public hearing before we proceed with actual improvements. How close do we think we are to this? This looks like it's a pretty good draft plan. Are we, essentially a map and a brief explanation, and then we can schedule?
Mr. Powell called us from Hawaii, I think it is, today, and we did talk about this being something we'd get with him on pretty quickly. He did a really good job of, we're not using a park planner, but he obviously knows the legal space for the spots and for the turnaround, and we just need to have it amended based on what our last discussion was, and I think that's something that they can produce for us fairly quickly. At that point, I think that we could have a public hearing at our next meeting if council chose to. We're not, as we've said before, we're not using a park planner on this one, so I'm not an artist. I'm not going to be doing a fancy rendering unless any of you want to. So it's going to look pretty much like this, with maybe some supplemental information attached, but I think that Mr. Powell can help us get the basics down pretty quickly.
Okay, I think with that, do I hear a motion to establish a not-to-exceed budget of $25,000 for the Oak Island Park improvements?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Dumont, second Duff.
Do you
Further
want to
dis-
also include to hold a public meeting for next meeting?
Yeah, I will hear that as
Yeah.
part of the motion, and
Okay.
to hold a public meeting when the
Yep.
plans are ready. Because I do want to make it clear to everybody, we're going to go through
Yeah.
that process. So the motion is to establish a not-to-exceed budget of $25,000 for the Oak Island Park improvements and hold a public hearing when the plans are ready. Further discussion?
Yeah, Mike, you mentioned that you've spent approximately $5,000 out of.
I'm saying in this year's budget,
Right.
5,000 has been spent.
So this will be in next year's budget?
So what
Well,
we
you
will
know,
do
my
is-
point is, I don't want to take 25 and then you got another 20 that hasn't been spent, now we got 45,000.
No, so what's gonna happen is we still have some landscaping we need to do down in Armenia, so
Right.
there's gonna be some left for there. We may find after we go through the budget and have the plan that it's spring and we are ready to do some plantings and we wanna do them
Okay.
then. There should be plenty of budget in that neighborhood park improvement line item to cover that work. So I think we're good for this year's budget.
Okay.
And then the remainder we would put into next year's budget.
All right, that's all I wanted, I didn't want to snowball.
Nope. And it took a while for me to get a clear understanding of that, but I think we're good now. Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Nedrow.
Yes.
Sinkwitz.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
Clement.
Yes.
Duff.
Yes.
Mallon.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
All right, that does bring us to the second call to the public, opportunity for citizens to address the council regarding any and all village business. Mikowski, let's get you a mic.
I just want to make a comment that I totally agree with you, Bob, on the zoning board. I was chairman of the zoning board.
Probably many years ago, too many years ago. And the decisions that were made by the board were absolutely stupid. It's like he said, they would actually tell these people, well, you should move your door here, or move your door there, or put it in the back. I mean, they were reconfiguring this person's personal property rather than addressing what they were there for.
They do it all the time.
Jerry?
Something, I don't know if they're still
Jerry,
doing
no,
that.
I'd like to address that because the board is now in such a position, we can't even recommend to people of different things. Okay? We could go ahead and postpone, or they, I should say, because I'm not on it anymore. They can ask for a postponement so the person won't have to pay again to come back, with a revised plan or something. but it's against the rules, am I right?
Yeah.
For, you know, as a member of that board, I couldn't say, well, Jerry, that's real nice, but you should move your door over 3 feet.
Right.
Well, I can't do that, or the board can't do that.
Right.
In other words, you dug the hole, you fall in it, okay? There's no help to the public, and that's the thing that I don't care for. But again, that's a personal feeling on my part, because I go back years when you weren't strapped to the wall. And so I agree with your comments. Thank you for listening to me.
Really, something should be reviewed somewhere along the line. It's bad. I've just heard many people complaining, you can't put a fence up, you can't do this, you can't put your sidewalk over here, you can't, it's crazy. It really doesn't make any sense. It's your property, and somebody else is telling you what to do with it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Second call to the public? All right, seeing none, I will close the second call. Brings us to item J, recommendation from Police Chief Ellsworth, police dispatch service agreement between Oakland County and Village of Wolverine Lake. I believe what we have before us is the standard agreement that comes up, what, every 2 years or so?
I think it's every 3 years now. And it is just that, it's a standard agreement. There's a 3% increase every year, just like I believe it has been in the past, or maybe not quite as much in the past, but yeah, it's pretty cut and dry.
All right, do I hear a motion to approve the agreement before us?
Second.
So, motion Duff, second Malik, to approve the, let me get the police dispatch service agreement between Oakland County and Village of Wolverine Lake. Further discussion? And I believe the administrator and the attorney have reviewed this, right?
I have reviewed the police dispatch agreement for 2 other communities and fire dispatch for another community, but they're the exact same.
Exact same.
Chief, just a quick
You're
question.
satisfied there are no
There will
untoward
be no
surprises?
So obviously, agreements always get to be cut and dry, but just from a public information standpoint, what changes have you seen in efficiency and et cetera in the dispatch
Actually, I've been rather pleased, especially the way they're going now. They are doing RFPs for a new system with using the 911s collected from community-wide or county-wide. And there should not be much more monies needed. They're spending $16 million. And in this dispatch agreement, it also goes along with, and something that I know we've had a line item for many years, is our radios. Now, these are come to the, what they call end of their life, their useful life. They won't fix them anymore. And so we are going out for bid for new, not only mobile radios they provide us, but the handheld radios as well. So
those are provided?
these are provided, part of this contract. So, you know, and if it breaks, we take it up there, they fix it, or they give us a new one. The accessories, the shoulder mics and things of that nature, we have to buy. But they go as far as replace our batteries for us. So it's, to me, it's just one more thing we don't have to try to have a budget for. The accessories, like I say, we do have to have a budget for, but overall, they give us, right now, I believe we have 8 radios. So I got a new one for the new hire this time. They gave me a new one, but we also have an extra one here for our Marine Patrol. So I've seen many fixes. Now, I'm not saying there aren't problems, but just like anything else, it's not necessarily anything we can do or they can do. They're working on the software. The 911 system has had some issues when we have a large incident such as the gas explosion. They had so many 911 calls that it crashed their system. And their backup system also crashed. So there was 15 minutes they didn't have a 911 system. And for a county not to have a 911 system was very, very trying for them as well. And I can only imagine having, and they have 120 lines coming in, and to have those constantly flashing at you and trying to get to those in a timely fashion, it's very stressful. And so what they've done is they've went out to try to get these things fixed. And we get current updates from the Director of Communication, which is Mel Mayer. I've been visited by his assistant a couple of different times, reassuring that our calls are getting through, and these are the things that they have to fix, and they plan on fixing them. So, but overall, I'm very satisfied. It's unfortunate that they're not as, like when we had our own dispatch, or even with Wall Lake, quite the familiarity with our particular village and the ins and outs of those. But, we do the best we could with what we've got, and I think that overall, they do a fantastic job for us.
I'll say, having been involved in a lot of the discussions around the time that we eventually moved our dispatch to Oakland County, the level of information technology that you need for a modern dispatch and the level of training that you need makes it difficult for a smaller organization, a smaller governmental unit to really handle that well. And some pluses, some pluses and minuses of having it local also. But I think we get really good bang for our buck out of the county. So, any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Sinkwitz. Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
Clement.
Yes.
Duff.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Medrell.
Yes.
All right. Motion carries. Item K, evaluation form for a 2-year review of Administrator Byrd. This is actually, well, it's the annual review, but it's year 2 that he has, he's been here now for 2 years. Time flies. We're soon to convert him over to a Michigan fan, I've heard.
I will resign before.
Well, you haven't been down to Columbus in a long time.
We'll settle for your Detroit Lions fan.
That I'm in, yes.
That's worse.
So you should have in your packet a copy of the paper form. We'll also get a copy of the Excel form, since I'm the one who compiles these. If you have Excel and you feel good about filling it out in there, that's a little easier for me. I can just copy and paste it. If not, my 10 dancing fingers are ready to transcribe. But we'll collect them up. They're really not due until March 9th. We'll get them all together. I'll compile them. We'll present them at the admin meeting and get them back to council.
John, I'm going to be very limited on what I can voice here.
Totally understood, Bob.
Okay,
All
just,
fives.
I would like it on record. If I just put a big question mark on these 2 pages and pass it on, you won't mind. No, I've had some dealings, and there's a few that, but overall, I cannot honestly answer. I mean, I can put great guy on every one.
And that's so good. All we really want to do is make
I
sure
understand.
that Nathan gets a good, honest report back from us about what we think he's doing well, what he could improve on, and how things are going overall. So that's what we ask for.
Sure.
And Bob, one advantages, you may have some perspective on how he is from the perspective of a member of the public.
Oh, he's in trouble.
So that's that. We'll get you the online version. We have the paper version. Just make sure you get them back. I don't want to chase people down for them. Nathan, anything to add?
No, the online version was actually sent to you today, so it should be in your inboxes, and yeah, that's all.
So you're saying I shouldn't give my copy to him to give to you?
That's preferable to just go straight to him.
Just email them straight to me. And or drop them off at the village and I'll pick them up. All right, that's what we've got there. Realignment of council committee assignments. So we do have Mr. Malik on board. There weren't a lot of committees that we'll have to shuffle around, but I thought we would go through and take a look at some of them. We also have a couple places where Bob has been serving as citizen representative that we may need to replace him. So let's start at the top, Administrative Committee. We have myself and Mr. Scott there.
Great.
We have an opening.
I would like to throw my name in, being a longtime resident and a past member of the Administrative Committee. I think I would fit that position. Plus, I retired, so I have Friday afternoons available.
All right, Friday mornings.
Oh, Friday mornings, okay.
Yeah, you can't remember the day you're out.
It's Valentine's, right?
Do we have other nominations for the admin committee?
For volunteers?
I had thought Mr. Malik might also be a
Well,
potential
See,
nominee there.
I'd be interested, okay, but being that I've been out of it for, 3-4 years now, I just, because you know me, John, I jump in with both feet, and I sure don't want to shake up anything, so now that if this council agrees, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, there's other spots, we can kick Ed out of, and I can, take over. It's up to council. I'm just the new kid on the block, so.
Anybody else? So it sounds like we have consensus, Ed for admin. All right, let's go through, and as we go through this, we'll take a look at a couple of the items Ed is on where we may want to shift things around and shift something over to Bob. Gypsy Mouth Committee, I don't think needs anything.
Damn.
Lake Improvement Board, we can continue to serve. Liaison to Water Management, Liaison to Park and Rec, Liaison to ZBA. Mike was not an official liaison to one of our boards.
And this needs to be updated.
Yeah, that needs to be updated.
ZBA is now Mr. Dumont, so this is a
No,
draft.
ZBA is
Or
me.
ZBA is
He's
Mr.
on
Duff,
Park and
and
Rec.
Park and Rec is Mr. Dumont.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Planning and SEMCOG, MML. Lakes Area Youth Assistance, as everybody knows, Mike was heavily involved there. I think Mr. Scott is our additional
I am, and I must openly admit in the public that I have not followed up on that. If somebody else would like to come in, that's fine. I will rededicate myself to meeting prior to the council meeting, the day of, which is, I guess, they meet at noon, don't they? The day of the council meeting.
Usually, yeah.
They met today, I was out of town today, but,
So,
you know.
Well, I just, what's involved, I'm not familiar with it. I've never been in any of their meetings, or all I know is when it's time to donate, I've always said, yeah, so.
So the amount involved is really, we are not required to have, any official large presence. We can have somebody who's just sort of a member ex officio, takes a look every now and then, checks in, and is a liaison. Obviously, Mr. Stack took a much greater role in that, and we wouldn't be expecting somebody to replicate that.
Oh, yeah, well, that's it. I couldn't fill those shoes if I tried, and I know that.
What Lakes Area Youth Assistance does is they're a strong liaison with our local schools and with our police, and they do a lot of intervention with kids in need. And the amount that you're involved really depends on what your availability is and how much you can do. So I wouldn't expect anybody to replicate what Mike was doing with that organization. I do want to make sure that we continue to be in touch with what they do. I actually had potentially a suggestion when we were doing the interviews Monday night. Dixie Gannon expressed a really strong interest in kids, what's happening with some of the substance abuse issues that are out there. And I was wondering if she might be interested in being a liaison to that organization.
I'd be more than happy to ask her if you'd like me to on behalf of council. She's on the water board, of course.
Yeah, why don't we reach out to her and see if she would have an interest in that.
Okay.
What, to take Mike Stack's place?
No.
Oh.
No.
You gotta take my spot, or she could be an alternate between me, and just so somebody will be there.
Yeah.
I know that she's working afternoons, so her mornings.
So the scheduling may not work.
Yeah, it may not work, but I can check with her.
But, yeah,
So, Bob is gonna,
Well, look, I'll be honest, I'll give it a shot. If I don't fit the bill, I'll tell you. I've never been shy. But no, really, it's.
Okay, well, let's put Malik
fine.
down. And then let's.
Just, I will need info as to when, where, and what, and who, and all that nonsense. I shouldn't say nonsense, but all that pertains to it.
Get him in really quick.
Yeah, Chief, I can fill you in.
Oh, jeez.
You gotta spend a little time with me.
Yeah.
Yep.
And important thing.
All right, and then John, you'll get hold of Dixie and just see if she'd be
Yeah,
interested in
you
doing
know,
something with it.
as long as I think one of our representatives is there along with Mike and make a appearance, it's important.
Yep.
So John, technically, you're gonna back out and Dixie will be a possibility, is that it?
Well, why don't we find out what Dixie wants to
Okay,
do?
okay, no,
We can
that's
have
fine.
more than one rep,
Yeah, we
from
could
council
really,
show up. I
we
mean,
could
it's
really
Oh, no,
only
that's,
have one. We
I'm
could
just
have
trying to
one.
make my notes here on,
Yeah,
so.
yeah,
I also have Officer List on the board, so.
yeah.
so-
Officer List is on the board.
I mean, we're a pretty strong presence there, and I think that's been really good for the community, so. All right, before we go to Pathway Committee, let's finish off this page. Newsletter, internet, I think is fine as is. Police Hiring Board, Water Billing Review Board.
Okay.
Bob, you're a citizen rep on that one, so I think we need to
Right,
find a
right.
new citizen rep.
Okay,
I do not have any suggestions offhand for whom that might be, so maybe we should post it as an opening. I hate to get anybody's hopes up. I don't believe the Water Billing Review Board has met in all the time that I have been
It
here.
hasn't been all the time I've been in the village, but if you want to take my spot, Bob, you're welcome to it as a council.
yeah, if John,
There
if
you
you
go,
want
you
out.
got it, buddy.
Do we really need,
Sure.
do you think we
We
really
do,
need?
we're required to have
Yeah,
that board in case somebody appeals their water bill.
All right,
It does,
so-
and it does happen in other communities. We just have so few people who are on billable water in comparison to a lot of other communities that it just doesn't happen very often here.
Actually, it's only one account, and that's Kaya.
Oh, really?
Everyone else pays a flat fee,
Should have given him for a free lunch.
non-consumption.
Well, I just penciled me in. John, you're out.
Thanks.
So it only applies to our village well, it doesn't apply to municipal water people in the village?
No, if, for example, in the Helmsford situation, if there are disputes regarding the bill or amounts or rates or anything like that, they take that up with the wall.
That goes with well, okay. So Kaya is our only potential appeal situation. Interesting. So, we have Malik as our new council rep, and we will need to find a new citizen rep. Waka, no longer an issue. We could probably remove them from the list. West Oakland County Road and Bike Path, Nedro, Duff, and Breakovich can stay.
I was gonna say that with Dumont being now the park liaison, we could
Yeah.
replace that out if he's that's also one that hasn't met since I've been here, so I'm not sure.
It hasn't met since I've been on it.
Yeah, so I'm not sure that that's gonna add much to your
It's
workload.
actually
Mr.
been a
Dumont,
year,
but,
hasn't it,
But
since,
he would be the appropriate one now.
As part of
since
the-
the-
It's been a
Yeah,
year,
that
I
makes total
think.
sense.
I mean, we've walked.
Phase 2 subcommittee, there's one that is fairly quiet these days, and we have the same three.
What's phase one?
Phase 1 is long in the past.
Long, okay, so it's
been gone.
Phase 2 were the stormwater regulations
Oh, all right.
that came in, that you have to have some level of board representation. Pathway Committee, it's been sitting fairly inactive, but we have Duff, Stack, and Scott from council. Possibly Dumont might be an appropriate replacement since he's Park and Rec liaison.
Sure.
And, you know, that board in its sort of initial incarnation did a lot of work at looking at South Commerce, looking at options down there.
So, question for you, would
Sure.
it be appropriate for Mr. Dumont to actually take the chair on that one, and I just switch to just as a regular council liaison?
That is fine with me.
Good with you?
I don't want the job.
Yeah, keep the position here.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay.
Perfect.
Anyways, what I was going to say is one of the things that we're trying to do with South Commerce now, just so everybody knows, is we're working through the Traffic Improvement Association to get a good study of that, not just in the wintertime, but a little more in the spring and summer when people walk in that area, to really build the case for doing something systematic, something broader, perhaps when Oakland County Road Commission does the repaving, which is got to be approaching soon, given the state of that road. That we may look at doing something a little bit more integrated with pathways and modern roadways. So that's been quiet, and we should get them back together, but that's the state of that.
I think Linda's working, you might remember the discussion with Commerce, since she's a member of the Park and Rec there, to get that back on their schedule too. So, just for the information, David, for you, something might pop in the next month, so.
Huron River Watershed Council, we've got Mike Sargent listed here. I believe he's no longer on the water board, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he is. Oh, sorry.
These are in-resident limnologists,
Oh,
soon to
yeah,
go into
sorry.
his PhD program.
I was thinking of a different Mike.
Scobie.
Yeah, I was thinking of Scobie.
A lot of mics on that committee.
Okay, Audit Finance Committee, we have Bob Malik as the citizen rep. Obviously can't do citizen rep anymore, but since Mr. Sinkowitz is going to admin, maybe we can add Bob as a member of Audit Finance in its spot.
You okay with that, Ed?
Yeah, that makes sense.
In general, we've avoided having somebody on all three of negotiation,
Yeah.
finance, and admin to keep the work and responsibility distributed.
Yeah, Bob,
Yeah,
Is there
I
something you wanna
don't
do?
find that a problem.
yeah, fine. I mean, there's no reason why other people can't attend the meeting just to be informative.
Okay, so we have Brian Lindman as the citizen alternate. Maybe we should check with him and see if he's okay with moving up to regular citizen rep, and we would then find another citizen alternate for that board.
And we are going to have a meeting fairly soon of this committee, so I will check with Mr. Lindman, and then we can look to fill another citizen position. But it usually meets once a year, early in the year, and we recently had a good conversation with Mr. Powell about some figures, and so we'll be holding a meeting soon with this committee.
Alrighty. Park capital approval, I believe we can keep as it is. Negotiating committee, Sinkowitz, Scott, and Nedrow, I think we can then keep as it is.
Well, I'd like to go ahead and, John and I were switching, how about if we switch and I go into the negotiating committee?
You switch me to, or just eliminate me, I'm not sure where I was.
Oh,
being
I thought
switched.
we,
Oh, and actually, that's probably reasonable. We do have
Yeah.
Scott on 3 at the moment now,
Yeah,
too.
that's true.
So, Mr. Scott, put Malik in for you on negotiating?
Sure.
Well, then can I stay on the audit committee? Not, because you've got Bob on 3 or 4 now already.
No, we've only got, well,
One, two,
in terms of the larger committees, finance, negotiating, and admin, we've got Bob on 2, we've got you on 2, we've got John on 2, we've got me on 2, we've got Brian on 2. We
I got-
probably need to
I
get
got
more Duff and
5.
Dumont in here. Yeah, but 3 of yours don't ever meet.
well, Lakes Area Youth Assistance, water billing, that's a wash.
I'd be willing to go on the negotiation committee. I've negotiated with trades before.
Duff
We were all
instead of
set when we
Malik?
came
Yeah.
down the last one.
Yeah.
I'll agree to that one.
So who's on negotiating now?
So I think that would put,
Sinkowitz,
you, me, and John.
Duff, and you.
that would make it
The three of us
Sinkowitz,
are
Duff,
now.
and Nedrow.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure
That's
now,
what I'm
now.
saying.
what
Now,
it
now,
is.
that's what I'm
What
saying.
is now,
That's
now?
fine. What's next
The
week?
yourself
Yeah.
and,
I thought
I
Bob
guess,
was gonna
you're gonna replace me, is that where we are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Your history, we got Mr. Duff.
I'm history. So make sure I understand, I'm history on audit and history on negotiation? Am I
No,
being-
no,
No,
you're
no,
still-
no, no.
Oh, okay.
You're still chairing audit finance.
Yeah, you're still-
You're not off the hook that easy.
Yeah.
Not off the hook that easy. Okay, well, then I'll write my name back in.
Who's on negotiation again?
You, me, and
Sinkowitz,
Duff.
Duff.
Nathan, will you be able to
Yeah, I'll
email
be-
a copy of all
Uh-huh.
this?
Yep,
Okay.
I'll be updating this after the meeting, and I'll get it out to you. Negotiating committee, if I understand right, is Nedrow, Sinkowitz, Duff.
Yeah.
That's where I was trying to go.
And we will be meeting soon as well for some pretty big items. So.
That was painless.
All right. I think that's what we've got on that one. So, motion to amend the committees as
Pathway
discussed.
Committee, do we get Scott Leibold off? 'Cause
Yeah,
no
I
longer
don't think
here.
he's in the village
He's no
anymore.
longer in the village, is he?
No, he is. He
Oh, is
actually,
he?
I just emailed with him, maybe unless he's moved in the last couple of weeks.
Okay.
Oh, okay, maybe he is, okay.
Yeah.
I've seen him in a long
I thought
while,
he was
that's
gone.
good.
We probably should get that committee back together just to.
My hope there was that the TIA report could prompt a meeting, but now we may not. I met with them last week, 2 weeks ago maybe, and they're looking at spring to get something back to us. But obviously it can meet whenever. But I thought that might be a good way to get the group back together to have something to look at.
Might be a good time for that. That makes sense. All right, do I hear a motion to amend the committees as discussed?
So moved.
Motion Sikowitz, second Duff. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Set topics for February 28th work session. I will say two things here, one of which is I don't believe we have any topics. The second of which is I will not be in town on
I
February.
make a motion, we cancel the February
Second.
28th.
Motion Malik, second Duff.
I knew there was a
Cancel-
reason that you'd be good on council.
Cancel the February 28th work session. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Pending business, I have none tonight. Update from the chief.
Really don't have much other than, been kind of a rough month. My numbers got cut short last week, so I came home Thursday night,
We beat the snow home, so we came home Thursday night, or most of us. The conference was actually canceled Friday. The speaker that they had coming in couldn't make it, so. But, so they canceled Thursday late afternoon and came home Thursday night to a blinding snowstorm. And we've made it this far. We'll get through the rest of it, so. But it's been a pretty good month. It was a rough month to start with, but we'll make it through it. And thank you very much for approving the other full-time position. And I believe we have the absolute right person in that position. So I think everybody's going to like him.
All right. Update from the treasurer.
Very briefly, Mr. President, Nathan and I met with our local assessor, a fellow from the Oakland County Equalization Department on Monday. And we're starting to get some figures together as to our taxable value and assessed value. It looks like, or we know that notices have either just been mailed out or they're about to. We know that the factor for next year is going to be 2.1%. So if there are people whose taxable value lags behind their assessed value, and most residential properties in Wolverine Lake are in that position, you're basically going to see, or potentially going to see, about a 2.1% increase in your taxes. Now, Board of Review is going to meet in March. By the time we meet next, all the boards and committees, department heads will have updated figures through February, and we'll begin the budget process in earnest.
Update from the administrator.
We had a little bit of a laugh last November because we had so many people come here to vote, but there was nothing to vote on. And that will not be the case in 2018. And I wanted to let council and the public know that I did receive nominating petitions from Commerce Township today. So anybody who would like to stop by here and pick up a petition, we will have them upstairs. They're also available at the township. They go back to the township. They don't come here. So whenever we want to be very clear on that. But there's a very nice instructional page attached to the petitions, and anybody who wants to run would need to get those in by 4 p.m. on July 24th. So plenty of time, but we will put this in our spring newsletter so people know. We'll also put a notice on our website about it, but I just want to let you know those were in today. It was a question that came up Monday night. At that time, I didn't have them, and now I do. So if anybody wants them, they'll be available upstairs.
All right. Council comments, and this one will start down here. We'll work around to Bob, and we'll give Bob almost the last word.
I just want to verify it is warmer in Florida. But no, Good meeting, glad to be here, glad to be back, actually. Missed the snow.
You had been down there a long time.
Not that long, it was mostly business, actually.
Welcome back, Bob.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for applying.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Sinkowitz?
No comment?
No comment. No comment.
And it got to me. Couple things. First of all, thank you for the appointment. I appreciate it. Those of you that I have served with on this board before know that I get into it and I put my all in it. You know, I don't always agree with people and they won't agree with me, but I am for this community, and that was one of the reasons I applied and hope to apply and run in November. So again, thank you, and enjoy the rest of the winter. Oh, I'm going on vacation the 16th of March, so don't plan anything.
All right, and then I get last comment. So I also want to add, thank you, Bob, or, thank you for applying. Welcome to the council. And I also wanted to mention that, during that meeting, I talked about Bob having experience on council and being able to jump in. But I don't think I said one of the things that also did carry weight with me, which is that during our meetings this year, I looked out there and I saw Bob in the audience almost every second Wednesday of the month. So I think it does matter when people apply for those council positions that they're people who have been staying on top of what's happening in the village, that they're taking a look at what's going on. It does make it easier for them, when we did those questions, I think it was clear to me that Bob had a pretty good idea of what's going on and what's current, much though he will say he's rusty at some of it and still needs to get back to speed on the details. And I think that matters. And I think as we come forward into the election season, we have petitions. I would encourage everybody who's thinking about running to start showing up to council meetings and pay attention to what happens. It makes a difference. So, with that.
Quick comment. And I think Bob can go back, and I know a council person back there can go back. People that got on council, if you weren't on a board for a few years and knew how the village run, and the idiosyncrasies of being a council person, never were elected. It seemed like, it was like, okay, you're on a water board or a planning commission, and then you got yourself known, people got to know how you thought, what your goals were and stuff, and then you moved up, and the next thing you know, you apply for a position. But, I think some people, they don't realize that this meeting here is a piece of cake. All the stuff that I'm sure we have to read, and I don't get much over my computer, but I do a lot of paper reading. And I thank Nathan for making sure that I get the good information. But anyway, no, there's a lot to it, and you just, we can all think of council members that came in right off the street that, it took them a year before they knew when they could talk and couldn't talk, so. It's nice to have people that come in to the meetings and visualize what's going on and step up to the plate.
John, I'd just like to add one thing. When I had gotten off council the last time, it was because of retirement and different things. But I've always, and it goes way back before a lot of these people were on council, that I always was a participant in the audience. And I was on with Jerry way back when, and eons ago, right? But it's just, when Tom Connolly was here, Ed, you, and well, you've been here quite a while, too.
And look at Jerry, she hasn't aged a bit.
No, I know,
Look
that's
at
the
us.
thing. Yeah.
What's going on?
But
Something's
again,
wrong
I
here.
always made it a
I gotta
point
get out,
to know what went on in the community,
Yeah.
okay? And it was an important thing to me. With neighbors, and I still I'm not on boards or anything in my subdivision, but I'm still involved, okay? And there's something going on. Like I said before, I raised a family here, my grandchildren are raised here, and I wouldn't trade it, so.
Yep. So,
Thank you for hearing
Motion to
me.
adjourn, Mr. President?
Before we adjourn, Mr. President,
motion Sinkowitz, second Duff. Further discussion, Mr. Scott.
are we having an administrative meeting on Friday or not? I
We
didn't
are
see it.
not this
We are not,
Friday.
okay, I want to make sure.
And I'll be in touch with the new member as well as the others, and we can reschedule that.
Good.
Okay. We have a motion on the table, motion to adjourn. No further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
We are adjourned.